It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not gonna cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
Green, green, green. We're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Karn moving up here in Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Renus VK and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2.
Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores the win.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Road to Indy TV Live, presented by Cooper Tires. I'm your host, Tony Laporta, and we are here in the Cooper Tires fan activation stage mobile studio. It's pretty much an all-in-one, and I'm joined by the one, the only, the unflappable Parker Thompson. And Parker, I know that you're unflappable because we just had to spend the last 3 or 4 minutes silent while we got ready to go live. And there's plenty to see walking around the fan zone here at St. Petersburg Grand Prix, and you were able to just stay rock solid. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a great day for hay, isn't it, Tony?
Always. I think every day is a great day for hay, especially when you're at the streets of St. Pete Grand Prix.
Fantastic to have fans back. It's very cool to watch live people walking around,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, it's so crazy when you think about the deja vu that I don't know if you're having, but I know I'm certainly having, because it was just about 6 months and some odd days that we were sitting right here when the world pretty much came to a stop. The COVID-19 pandemic really went into high gear. We all picked up these cool facial accessories in the form of these now mandatory masks, but life has gotten a little bit more back to normal. We're back here at the streets of St. Pete Grand Prix. Instead of it all starting here like the banner says above pit lane, it all ends here. Round 17 and 18 of both Cooper Tires USF2000 and your championship, the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires, are getting set to run their first race of the doubleheader today, and then they'll cap the season off tomorrow afternoon. How good does it feel to be back at St. Pete and, more importantly, regularly behind the wheel of a race car these days?
Unbelievable. There was 2 months there I didn't think we were going to go back racing again this year. So if you would have asked me 6 months from 6 months ago, would you be in St. Pete finishing up your race championship, I probably would have said no.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people just, St. Pete is synonymous with the beginning of the season, just like NASCAR has Daytona. IndyCar has always come to the streets of St. Pete, and this is where everything does start. And it's scheduled to start again in March in just a few short months if the world should go back to normal. But instead, we're ending the championship here. Let's talk a little bit about your 2020. You've been on the road to Indy as long as I have been, your rookie season. I don't mean to say that negatively. It's nice to have someone that I see all the time, and I know you don't want to stay in the road to Indy. Every driver wants to move up, wants to move on.
Hey, it's a pretty good gig.
It is a good gig. Mr. Consistency, and chicks dig it from what I'm told. But you've been here on the road to Indy since I began back in 2016. You kicked off your career by finishing second in a nail-biter to your Cape Motorsports teammate, Anthony Martin. And then since then, you have been the definition of a journeyman on the road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. What's 2020 been like for you specifically?
It's been the strangest year ever. I mean, if you look at my Road to Indy career, there's been some heartbreakers, second, third. I mean, you couldn't come closer to winning a championship if you tried, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could, I pity the poor guy who tries.
Yeah, I don't think we should try.
And then I come into 2020. I had an amazing team assembled. I still do. They're just an awesome group of people over at D-Force Racing. And I had the deal done really early. This is probably the best opportunity I've had when you look at the date of it, you know, getting done in the off-season, getting lots of off-season testing. And then COVID hits, and unfortunately, there's just been so many changes, even when we talk about just how the cars have had to change, right? Because we haven't raced with IndyCar. This is one of the only races that we've raced with IndyCar. And even the times we have raced with IndyCar, unfortunately, we're racing quite a bit before them. We're not racing, you know, after them or with them.
Yeah, it's normally Road to Indy gets done and is moving out of the paddock just in time for IndyCar to move in.
Exactly. So, I mean, the tracks have changed for us, right? We don't have the IndyCar grip that they put down. We've only got our Cooper tire rubber that gets put down. So much has changed, and unfortunately, we were in a tight spot after COVID. It's not like we could do much testing where other teams were maybe set up a little bit better in that regard. And then just the luck factor. I mean, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, I've had my fair share of good luck and fair share of bad luck. But this year, the old rock has not skipped down the river the way it was supposed to.
I like that phrase. And, you know, you and I talked 2 days ago when I was filming you for something else. And, you know, you talked about, and this is a side that I think people who are tuning into Road to Indy TV to watch the Cooper Tires USF2000 race and then your race a little bit later on, this is part of the thing that we don't focus on enough, and it's the human element of this sport. As a native Canadian, which we don't hold against you, you have spent the majority of this year not just on this side of the U.S. border, but on the road. You hit on that a little bit when I was talking to you 2 days ago, but explain in depth, if you would, what your living situation has been like this season due to all the complications the world is going through.
Okay, let me make it real clear for you. I got one bag, and then I've got a golf bag. That actually, for those of you at home, if you ever want a loophole to this whole travel thing, buy a golf case, fill it with whatever you want.
Like for clubs.
Yeah, well, clubs, but all of a sudden the world's your oyster. Now you can fill it with anything. If you got your club somewhere, you can just pay the extra bag fee, the extra weight. Usually it's pretty cheap. United, not a plug to them, but they don't really charge you anything extra for the clubs.
Hey, 2 bags fly free on Southwest.
Oh, I know. And all of a sudden, you've got a lot of room for activities in that bag. You can pack a lot. So I've packed my life into 2 bags.
You're telling me that you've been traveling in a normal suitcase and a golf bag.
And a golf bag.
That's serious.
It is. And I have couch surfed. I've lived with my engineer and his wife.
In Texas.
Have been amazing, yeah. And then when we got hit by a hurricane over there, and then when the season changed, we had to move. So we lived in an Airbnb in Columbus,
Ohio,
while the season got started. So the lovely folks at Buyers Porsche, they helped us out. They've been a longtime supporter of mine. They helped us out with a race shop because ours was underwater in Houston. So we had a race shop in
for D-Force.
For D-Force, yeah. We had 2 trucks there. We lived there for about 2 months.
That's incredible. So Red Deer, Alberta, Canada is where you call home. You started the season down in Texas where D-Force is based out of, down in Houston, and then the storms came through. You guys have relocated to Columbus, which I know the Porsche guys are located out of. So when St. Pete is over, where do you head home to when this weekend's done?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I got to take 5 days of it's not PTO because it's not paid time off. Time off, I call it TO.
Yeah, PTO, Parker time only.
Parker time only, yes. PTO for the folks at home. So I'm going to take about 5 days of PTO, and then I'm going to go back to, I think I'm going to go back to Canada.
Are you having any difficulties getting back across the border?
I'm currently working through that.
Okay.
I'm a pioneer, as they would say, because you don't know what you're going to get until you cross the border.
Right. Well, obviously, you know, all the joking aside, nobody should be kept from home for too very long. So hopefully you get the opportunity to do that. Sounds like the Indy cars are heading back out on track. we're not going to worry about them because we've got Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship Racing coming up. That's called a segue. I want to switch gears here a little bit. I mean, because seriously, we could talk about your journey on the road to Indy. We could talk about your year, what it's been like to really be the journeyman, not just in your career, but heck, this year alone. Fortunately, we don't have the time for that. I wish we did. I want to get a little bit more of your opinion on what it goes into being successful here at the streets of St. Petersburg. It's a short track, relatively speaking, because the road to Indy has been everywhere, like Road America, 4 miles long. We were just in New Jersey in Millville. That track is 2.25 miles long. This place is under 2 miles, coming in at 1.8 miles when you measure it, and 14 corners. So what goes in as a driver to being successful here at the streets of St. Pete?
There's a lot. It's a street course, right? So half the time, and it's a unique street course because half of it is on a street.
Partial street, partial airport.
Partial airport.
Yeah.
So you've got, half of it is the size of a sidewalk, and then the other half of it is an airport runway.
It's so funny you said, because Joel Miller, I don't mean to cut you off, but Joel Miller told me that a couple of years ago. We were here as a driver coach for the road to Indy when he was in that capacity. He said, turn 1 here is so critical because you go down on the width of an airport runway and you exit on the width of a city sidewalk. And while it's truly not the width of a sidewalk, you really do lose so much room from corner entry to when you come out of turn 2. What do drivers have to do to prepare for that? Because this is a city course that the track doesn't exist more than 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
So you can't come and test and tune here. Are there any tricks to prepare for that rapid loss of track width out here?
I don't think there's tricks. I think experience pays dividends. You look last year, had 2 wins, 2 poles, everything was going really well. But then you look at this year, we've unfortunately struggled a little bit. We rolled off P1 in practice, which is where the experience plays in, but we didn't put it together for the 2 qualifyings, and now we're starting 3rd in the race coming up this afternoon. I think the biggest thing you have to look at is adaptability. This track changes year to year. So while experience helps with, okay, this is a right turn, this is a left turn, it doesn't help with car setup because they've repaved now the runway, most of Sector 1 and most of Sector 3. They're all repaved.
So with grip, that helps. But again, this is not a purpose-built racetrack with the type of asphalt that rubbers in really, really well. And it wouldn't matter if it did or not because you're not racing here 90%, 11 months, 11 and a half months out of the year. So this track is really, really low grip. At least that's what I've been hearing on the MX5 Cup side of things. Technically speaking, and I'm not looking for you to give away John's, setup notebook over there, D-Force or anything, but what can you do to an Indy Pro 2000 car or a USF2000 car to make up for the lack of grip?
Well, and that's what the point I wanted to make was, is it's not just about this place has a lack of grip. It used to be very bumpy. I mean, when I came here in 2016, this place, you'd have to go to the dentist after to get your fillings.
Rattle your fillings out.
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
And now it's almost as smooth as a baby's bottom. I mean, a lot of the places are smoother than like Mid-Ohio and a few other places we go to. So that creates a whole new ball game. And teams that are quick to adapt to that are the ones that are going to go to the front. So you've got to be quick to adapt on these street courses.
Is there anything that you can do as far as cranking a little bit more aerodynamic grip into it to really shove those Cooper tires into the pavement?
Yep. The biggest thing I think, or the biggest change this year, I would say the aero numbers are pretty similar year to year because you've got a long straightaway and you've got a couple high-speed corners, which is where the aero really comes in. But the biggest difference we look at, Johnny Unser just threw water on my foot.
What a jokester.
He is a jokester. As long as he stays
straight
on
that side
as long as he officiates good.
Johnny Unser, folks watching right now, might have just seen Parker react.
Get wet.
Johnny wasn't throwing lava on us, just a bottle of cold water. But race director with the Road to Indy, Johnny Unser, member of the Unser family, just threw a little bit of water. I think he was trying to get me, something about me wearing a white shirt. I don't know what that's all about.
That would have been awesome if he did.
But
got my white shoes,
you were talking about things that help your car handle here at St. Pete.
You've got 2 options when you come to a street course. You can either stiffen the thing up to just bounce over the bumps, or you can soften the thing up to take the bumps. The danger is ending up somewhere in the middle where you're not bouncing over the bumps and you're not taking the bumps. You're just kind of all over the place.
Okay, so the question there is then, and I'm using all my thousands of hours of driving experience from PlayStation 4 to ask this question, but if you stiffen the tub too much and you stiffen the car too much and you hit a good enough size bump out there, are you in jeopardy of breaking something major on the car?
Not really.
Okay.
Unless you clap a wall, you're probably not going to break it. And even then, I mean, in qualifying, I hit the wall a couple times, and the old number 9's still straight.
I
so.
like that, unless you clap along. I've never heard that. I like that a lot. And you bring up another great point. The walls here at St. Pete, I mean, it's a cliche, but they will jump out and get you.
Yeah. More you'll jump out and get them.
I guess so, yeah. Cause,
they kind of stay in the same place.
Yeah, because the barriers aren't jumping out and really moving physically. But I got to be honest, I love coming here to kick off the season one because the weather is quite a bit more enjoyable in March than it is here in October.
Yes.
We're enjoying quite the Indian summer
Yes.
on the west coast of Florida right now. But coming here has always seemed unique to me, and the Anderson truck is 50 feet away, so I don't want them to hear me say this. But, kicking off the season here has always been interesting because we show up for a new season every year with lots of rookies. Some of these kids have never raced a 2-liter open-wheel car like the ones we have. And you go out there for one practice session, and you might spend half or more of crash damage budget in one incident at the streets of St. Pete. And I'm not saying that after 1 year of racing it's impossible to get in trouble here, but you've got rookies.
Oh, yeah.
USF2000, Reese Gold, for example, who is looking pretty good. And I think a lot of that plays into the fact that he's had a year in this car. He's had a year of getting used to downforce. So when you get into these concrete canyons at St. Pete, it's not so easy to make a mistake. Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm kind of talking?
No, 100%. I will say, though, that it doesn't matter who you are. Any race car driver is going to fear the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, and any race car driver is going to fear when you look at IndyCar Detroit, when you look at the Road to Indy last year in Toronto. I mean, these places are treacherous.
Yes.
They are.
Yes, because nearly every track we go to, you look at the Road Americas, you look at the Mid-Ohio, they are blessing drivers on the road to Indy and in the NTT IndyCar Series with gobs of runoff room. If you should make a mistake, worst case scenario at Mid-Ohio, you might end up stuck in China Beach.
Yeah.
But the car is just going to get filled with gravel. You roll out, you shake it off, you keep moving. But, man, here at St. Pete, there's a few braking zones where if you totally miss the entry, you might be able to sail off into. But even there, stacks of tire barriers. And if you make a mistake mid-corner to exit, there is no runoff room. There's nowhere to drop a tire, keep digging. It's just concrete barriers.
Yep.
Does that give you nightmares coming to this place?
Nope.
You love it.
I do.
You love it because it's really on the edge racing.
I love street courses. Low grip, big, you know what. It takes a lot to get around this place quick.
We just spoke to Kyle Kirkwood a little while ago about his plans to resume racing in 2021 as the scholarship driver going to Indy Lights, and he's real jacked up about going to Detroit. I know your 2021 plans aren't finalized. The schedule did just come out 2 days ago for all 3 rungs on the Road to Indy ladder. Barring you getting something not worked out in time, hopefully you will be back with us on the Road to Indy. Looking at that schedule, where are some places maybe you're looking forward to going back to, or like Detroit, going to for the first time?
Well, I have to say, I excuse to the fans at home, does Indy Lights go to Barber?
No, I don't believe they do.
No,
I don't believe they do.
You folks going to Indy Pro and you folks going to USF, to go back to Barber, that's my jam. I love that place. So that would be probably the most exciting.
And I also, I should apologize because I haven't studied the schedule in great detail. I think there's a chance the only group going to Detroit may be Indy Lights.
It is Indy Lights.
Okay,
That's
I was going to say I would check.
I know that for sure.
I would check, but my iPhone 6 died a couple hours ago. But the 2021 schedule looks really interesting. We obviously don't want to harp on it. Everybody's bummed about it, but no Freedom 100. How much does that stink?
Yes, of course it stings, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was like the crown jewel of the Indy Lights category.
Yeah.
And
crown jewel, the Road to Indy.
It really was. And if I'm being honest, winning the Freedom 90, I think it's every driver's dream. That was cool, right?
Yeah.
Going to the Speedway the day of the Indy 500, getting paraded around like a rock star.
Yep.
Getting interviews.
I can't remember. You actually, I think, if my memory serves correctly, the day of the Freedom 100 on the 100th running of the Indy 500, didn't you get to take your USF2000 car out for the pace lap in front of Pato O'Ward?
Was it the 100th?
Yeah, I think it was the 100th.
Years are starting to blur into years.
They definitely are. But I remember the pre-race, they had you and Pato go out because you were the point leaders.
Yep.
You were the point leaders in F2000 and at the time Pro Mazda. So you got to take your Cape Motorsports machine out.
Oh, yeah.
Pato brought his bright yellow Team Pelfrey Pro Mazda out, and then the entire Indy Lights grid was behind you guys. That had to be amazing to take an F2000 car out onto the oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh, it was pretty unreal.
I'm sure it was. As we inch closer and closer to the F2000 race, it's a category you used to race in. We talked at the start of the show about your really great 2016 season when you missed out on the championship by a hair to your teammate, Anthony Martin. F2000, have you had a chance as an Indy Pro 2000 competitor to watch any of the F2000 racing? Are you keeping an eye on anybody in USF 2000?
Of course. Obviously, being in the position I am with D-Force Racing, I'm a big part to their USF2000 program as well, helping them out any way I can. So pretty awesome. We got, not to plug D-Force, but we're got the front row here for race one coming up.
I was say, if you don't want to plug D-Force, you wore the wrong shirt.
Yeah. But no, it's looking good. We got Cam Shields on pole, and
Yeah.
we've got Kiko Porto off pole, which
Yep.
is pretty unreal.
Yeah, Cam laid down a flyer, and
He
you
flew
guys.
one in, yes,
yeah,
you're
he
right.
He flew
He
one
flew
in
it
there.
in.
But you guys at D-Force have really come on strong as of late, and of course, the Indy Pro 2000 season, just like F2000, deciding its champion a week early back in Millville at New Jersey. In Indy Pro 2000, it was Stingray Robb getting the job done with Yunkos Racing. And you've had heartbreak this season, but again, I feel like if you didn't have bad luck, a lot of the times you wouldn't have any luck at all. What do you think about the quality of racing that we've experienced in a very unusual 2020 in Indy Pro 2000?
You know what? Honestly, I'm beginning to find that every year on the road to Indy, there's drivers that step up and there's teams that step up. So it's kind of interesting, right? I'm in not an awkward position, but I get to go watch Oliver Askew, Renus VK, and there's a bunch of other guys. I mean, I race Pato and karts, all do very well in IndyCar. And it's really, you just kind of have to have the whole package put together, and I think any driver with the right support and the right talent will make it. And, you know, you look at Stingray Robb, not taking anything away from him coming into this year, but honestly, I wasn't that worried. I circled a couple other guys as the main competition.
Really?
And he stepped up to the plate.
Really? That's a bold statement, but it's also, I think, a fair one because Stingray was getting a reputation like yourself as a guy who had been on the road to Indy now for a few years. And again, I'm great friends with the guy. I love his family to death. They've been great to me. But I don't think that's an incorrect assumption that moving up to Indy Pro 2000, when you've got guys like you, when you've got guys like Devlin DiFrancesco coming over from Europe. I mean, Road America first weekend, he certainly didn't look like a threat. But boy, in the middle of the season, did Stingray come on?
Yeah, and that's what it takes. I think that helps when you're with a group of people for 2 years straight. The same group of people.
Yeah, because when you look at your career, tell me if I'm wrong here, but you started with Cape in 16. You finished second in that championship. Then you went to Exclusive in 2017. 2018 was, I just had it.
Exclusive, but
Exclusive
very
again.
different with, I mean, we absorbed a whole new team to go to Indy Pro, which was Pro Mazda 2018.
Okay, so 17 and 18 were Exclusive. And then last season, I had them all lined up here while you were talking. I'm drawing
Able
a blank.
Motorsports?
Able. Okay, so actually I didn't have that one lined up. So Able Motorsports. I forgot you raced with Jacob and his dad. And then here in 2020, D-Force Racing. Outskirts, any ideas of what 2021 looks like for you, Parker?
You know, the beautiful part about this is we'll see. I'm not getting complacent. Obviously, I'm on the phone just about every day, and I'm calling up just about anybody to put me in a car. But I've been in this position before, where you're at the end of the season, and unfortunately you don't have a ride put together, which is pretty rare. A lot of drivers do have rides put together, but I'm not worried. I think my results stand for themselves. I came into D-Force Racing. They didn't have any wins when I got here, and yes, it wasn't me. I blew up in Mid-Ohio when I was leading the race.
Yep, I remember
but,
that.
I mean, you've got Manuel Solomon that's had a lot of good results.
Yep.
I've shown that, again, I can come to a team and build them up, make everything go good in the right places, and all of a sudden we're winners.
Great time to end it on a high note this weekend, don't you think? Go out and get a couple of wins.
Oh, you are telling me. So we start third, but the number 9 is going to be racy in this one.
Starts third, number 9 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Parker Thompson, my man. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks for stopping by. You got to go get ready because Cooper Tires USF2000 is about to fire up, and you'll be racing right after them.
Uh-oh. Well, good luck to everybody racing in USF2000, and hope I go put a show for you in Indy Pro.
All right, Parker Thompson with D-Force Racing. He's getting ready to take to the track in Indy Pro 2000. Folks, you've been watching live pre-race coverage here on the Road to Indy TV app. We are at the Cooper Tires fan activation and pre-show stage. We got a pair of races coming your way next here on Road to Indy.tv. Cooper Tires USF2000 will run their penultimate round of the 2020 season, followed by Parker and the rest of the gang in Indy Pro 2000 coming up shortly. Stick right here on Road to Indy.tv or the Road to Indy TV app, however you're taking in the action, because we've got a pair of races coming your way. And remember, we'll be back on track tomorrow for the end of the 2020 season. Thanks for watching. We'll see you down the road.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
A rare tripleheader for the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship took place over 2 days at the New Jersey Motorsports Park. Race 1 saw Brazilian Eduardo Barrichello start up front and finish up front. The Pabst Racing driver launched from the pole position at the start while having to defend against championship leader Christian Rasmussen. As Barrichello drove towards his third win of the season, J. Howard driver development pilot Christian Rasmussen stayed in second position to defend his already slim point lead over an ailing Reese Gold, who would backslide to finish 15th. Gold's Cape Motorsports teammate Michael D'Orlando would hang tough to finish the first race of the weekend in third. The rest of the weekend in Jersey replicated much of the 2020 season, as it all belonged to Rasmussen. The 20-year-old Danish driver scored back-to-back wins on Sunday, marking his 8th and 9th trips to Tatis Victory Lane in 2020. The second race of the tripleheader saw D-Force Racing's Cameron Shields and Eduardo Barrichello join Rasmussen on the podium for round 14. While the round 15 podium was completed by Cape Motorsports' Josh Green and Exclusive Autosports' Prescott Campbell. The truly impressive weekend in Jersey capped off what has been a stellar season for Rasmussen, as the young driver from Copenhagen, Denmark mathematically secured the 2020 Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship and the Road to Indy scholarship that comes with it 1 week early to end 2020. Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
Green, green, green. They're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Karn moving up here in Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Rinus VK and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2.
Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores the win.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High
Thank you for joining us here for our Saturday program. What a terrific program that we saw through the Firestone Fast Six and the NTT IndyCar Series qualifying in the Fast Six. Of course, it was Will Power that came up with the top spot. Just getting set for the USF2000 race. Cameron Shields on the pole, Kiko Porto alongside in row number 1. Eduardo Barrichello and Reese Gould will make up row number 2. Christian Brooks and Christian Rasmussen, who has clinched the championship, will start 6th on the outside of row number 3. Yuvan Sundarumudia and Jack William Miller will make up row number 4. Michael Dorlando and Matt Roundgardo will make up row number 6 of the USF2000 series. We are just about 2 minutes away from drivers start your engines. Kyle Dupel and Michael Myers are in row number 7. Josh Pearson, Prescott Campbell in the number 1 car make up row number 8 in the USF2000 series. Cameron Sykes and Nolan Siegel, starters 17 and 18 in row number 9. Christian Bogle and Bijoy Garg in the number 18 car in row number 10. And rounding out the field, it is Gil Molina in the number 11 car. We are about 1 minute away from the command to drivers start your engines. The last of the NTT IndyCar Series being cleared away. The USF2000 teams are making their final preparations, making sure their drivers are strapped in and ready to go for today's race. Just about getting set. You saw the starting grid. Cameron Shields, Kiko Porto. The teammates are alongside on the front row. We had great action during practice and qualifying. Just about a half a minute to go before we get this race started in the USF2000 Series. One of the final events here on the Saturday. We have a full day of event. This is the first of 2 races for the USF2000 Series. They will both be racing again tomorrow. The USF2000 Series will kick off our action at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and now we are going to have a full afternoon of action in the USF2000 Series as well. Final preparations being made down on the grid, making sure all of the drivers are strapped in, all of the crews giving the Road to Indy officials the thumbs up to make sure that they are ready and set to go. All right, just about set to go. Please welcome with me, race fans, Lauren and Leif Liedemann, guests of Anderson Interior Contracting for today's command for the drivers.
Drivers, start your engines!
Engines firing to life for the 21 USF2000 cars out on the grid, set for their first of 2 races this race weekend. It is our second to last event this Saturday. We've had terrific action in the USF2000 in the practice sessions that took place yesterday, the qualifying sessions that took place. We actually had a qualifying session for USF2000 for race number 2 that took place earlier today. Those starting positions will determine tomorrow's order. However, in this one, these were set yesterday. Cameron Shields, Kiko Porto alongside on the front row. Rob Howden, who has put more miles on his sneakers today than just about everybody, the voice of the Road to Indy, joins me now. And wow, that was a bit of a scramble out there, a bit a hurry up here at the end to try to get this program moving along. But we're expecting a lot of good action today in this event with the USF2000 cars.
Well, Todd, I do appreciate your help. I was running back to BSI to drop off the IndyCar radio pack and then running back here to get to the up to the booth here. Thank you so much for helping out with the guys doing the gentlemen start your engines, drivers start your engines. We fired everybody up and we're ready to go racing finally. This is going to be great. Good qualifying run for both Cameron Shields and Kiko Porto from D-Force Racing. They'll start on the front row. It'll be the first pole start for Cameron Shields here in 2020. And here's a guy who really, really wants a win. I know that the family listening in back home in Toowoomba, Australia, Cameron for D-Force Racing would like to be able to get this victory locked and loaded. He'll start on the pole, as we know, alongside Kiko Porto. Again, drivers working their way around the racetrack here. 20-lap race. 20 laps or 45 minutes. We'll go to 25 laps for Indy Pro 2000. Again, drivers working their way out of turn number 9 and 10. Getting ready to go racing here for the first time. The pace car will duck on in. Shields and Porto on the front row. Barrichello in gold. Row 2, Brooks and Rasmussen. Row 3, Sundramoorthy and Miller. Row 4, Green and Brakacic. Row 5. They'll get themselves into the positions. We'll look down to Aaron Likens at the flag stand. Will we fire this race up? They're in position, looking good. Spooling up. Green, green, green. And we are racing, and Cameron Shields will take the lead. Here we go into turn 1 for the first time. Big wreck. One driver deep into the corner. Way too deep in for one of the drivers in the Pabst Racing crew. Didn't give us the time to talk about how slippery it is on the inside of row number 1. It's dirty down there. The tires aren't up to temperature. Todd, you know there's so much paint down there as well. That was just one driver getting too deep into the braking zone. and then just getting caught up with everybody else jumping on the binders.
We have seen this in other series and other series races and over the years here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Corner number 1, it is tantalizing and invites you to make those bold moves, and you wind up sometimes going a little bit deeper than you should, and to give you time to brake and slow down and to make that right-hander, and then the quick combination of 2 and 3 that follows. We had the cars fan out all the way across the runway, as we often see here as well, and then it's tough that you have to narrow down so quickly, and that's when you get contact in corner 1.
And the toughest part about it is the driver who didn't make the mistake. You know, the driver who was getting on the brakes early enough, not making that mistake. Not quite sure. It might have been one of the Paps cars, I believe, that went up and over there from deeper in the field. Just to look at kind of the lineup here for this particular field, I'm thinking potentially Matt Brown Garrido could have been the driver involved. We'll see as they come back around here. But again, full course yellow as we had that incident. That driver got up in the air in a big way. Okay, let's have a look at the replay on the big boards, those of you watching on the Road to Indy TV app as well. Here's the replay. You can see that driver. They actually got into the back of Christian Brooks. Brooks got driven over, so I think Christian Brooks might look at the contact as well there. So Brooks is going to go to the left side of the racetrack. That is, I believe, Yuvan Sundaramurthy getting involved. Yeah, Christian Rasmussen involved as well, the champion of the season. A number of drivers in the Jay Howard Driver Development Camp getting collected as well. Wyatt Prokachik involved, Christian Rasmussen. It was Yuvan Sundaramurthy simply driving over the back of Christian Brooks. Brooks will start on the pole position tomorrow after setting a new track record in qualifying, so he'll look for some amends, but that had nothing to do with Brooks or Rasmussen or Prokachik. That was just Yuvan Sundaramurthy too deep into the braking zone.
Yeah, and it's difficult sometimes for these drivers, inexperienced drivers. You get onto the paint, and there is so much of it on the airport runway. It is a very different consistency, of course, than the asphalt, and it gets very slippery. Sometimes you'll start to get on the brakes, and you will just slide, and there is nothing you can do. You're almost a passenger at that point. Yeah.
We're going to have another look at this replay sooner or later here, but again, obviously a tough start. So here it is here again, the replay. You can see drivers defending down low to the bottom of the racetrack. A couple guys going out wide. And Sundaramurthy just gets into the back of Christian Brooks, who's braking to make sure he doesn't get into Christian Rasmussen, who then gets collected by Sundaramurthy. Christian goes all the way to the outside of the racetrack. Everybody else making complete evasive maneuvers. Wyatt Prokachik from the middle of the racetrack, Todd, just kind of trying to get the thing woed up and turned at the same time, and that's what brought him around.
And that's what happens when drivers around you start to see that there is action underneath. It's then everybody has to take evasive action, and often that causes the domino effect where you get two others that weren't involved in the initial contact and incident, and a second one results.
Yeah, a driver will make an evasive maneuver to get out of the way into the path of another driver. Then you start getting that collateral damage, those extra incidents involved. So the service vehicle's getting in here from Steps Towing to get the damaged car of Yuvan Sundaramurthy, who ended up climbing over the back of Christian Brooks. So Christian, of course, out of that one. Tough one for Christian Rasmussen as well, obviously losing the rear wing. We're going to sell at least 3 or 4 rear wings, I think, on this race.
And how about that? He had clinched the championship coming into this weekend, into the final doubleheader of the weekend, hoping to carry through the season with some good momentum and some good results. He started off the season very strong, winning 6 straight races, and then had the dip in performance in the middle, started to bring back his performance, and then it seems as though it's going to be another, maybe at least a little bit of a valley to start the weekend. Yeah. You don't even make it through corner number 1.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep valley, no doubt about that. That's a drop-off for Christian Rasmussen, and of course, it's always the worst when you know that you weren't involved. You're just the collateral damage of an incident that happened. Obviously, Sundaramurthy up over the top of the right side of the car of Christian Brooks, sailed over him and essentially did the nosedive into the rear wing and the right rear of Rasmussen. So here's the way we shake things down if we get rolled again. Shields, of course, getting out front. Hey, this is the reason why you want to be on the pole position.
Sure is.
At a street race, right? Let's let the chaos happen behind you. Sometimes it's the guy diving inside and you end up getting collected, but on this particular occasion, Shields was able to get through cleanly. Kiko Porto into second, Eduardo Barrichello third, Reese Gold fourth, Josh Green up into the 5th spot, Simon Sykes all the way up into the 6th position, started outside the top 10. Michael D'Orlando in 7th, Bajoy Garg moves all the way up into the 8th spot. He started back in 20th. He finds himself in 8th. Joel Miller in 9th and Matt Round Garrido in 10th.
What a start. The safety crew continues to work. The AMR safety team continues to work in corner number 1. Now, you saw them putting that tarp almost underneath that car so as not to have too many fluids down on the track. They'll also sprinkle the kitty litter out. We saw this in the GT3 Cup race as well.
That's the machine of that's the machine of Rasmussen, and there's a cutoff right here outside of turn 1, so they'll take these cars right back to the paddock. But you're right, talk about the diaper underneath the car.
That's right. So there's no further liquids that are left out onto the track. The crew's working to get some absorbent material and do the sweep up to make sure that even though that is well off the racing line, you want that liquid dried up and removed as much as you possibly can. A great job by the team to get those cars out of there so quickly, having that easy access back to the paddock area. This should be a fairly quick cleanup. They'll get at least one more, I suspect, lap under yellow, but we should be back rolling pretty quickly.
Absolute best in the business. The AMR IndyCar safety team. It's one of the things that is involved with the Road to Indy, which we call a massive positive. You come to run and race on the Road to Indy. Obviously, all the scholarship to work your way up the ranks to try to get to the NTT IndyCar Series, but that level of safety we have with having the IndyCar safety team with us at all the racetracks, and they know our cars, and you watch the reaction time of these guys when an incident happens. It's absolutely amazing. We had an incident in Toronto. You probably remember this a number of years ago where a driver got upside down. It was Harrison Scott was upside down at the end of the straightaway, and before he had done sliding, a guy was already running towards the car from the IndyCar safety team. I'll never forget that image of him already running, and Harrison said when he was upside down, he couldn't believe that he was almost not even stopped. He saw feet underneath the cockpit. So great to have them along with us, and of course, getting this track cleared up quickly, we'll be able to go back to green flag racing. 20 laps. With a time window of 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I believe, the time window.
And that's what sometimes gets the drivers as well, understanding that this is only a 20-lap sprint race in a sense. There is a time limit as well. You understand that your opportunities to make passes are limited, and also the best time is when you're in a double file start to the race, and it's an opportunity to gain positions, especially heading down into corner number 1. You can say that there are multiple lines going through corner number 1, but you do have to very quickly, by the time you finish the exit to corner number 1, be in line for corners 2 and 3.
And that's a line. So if a driver understands how many lines there are into one, in the inside line, you're braking earlier than the outside line. That's what we didn't have there. We're going to get right back at it up here, folks. In fact, green flag flying at start-finish, right back to racing here in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Cameron Shields going to grab a quick lead in front of his teammate Kiko Porto. Everyone else sliding into position. A good battle further back between Michael D'Orlando, Simon Sykes, and Bajoy Garg. Again, they'll work their way cleanly this time through turn number 1. Single file restart made things a lot easier. A little bit of tight running coming through turn number 2. Over to turn 3 here. They have to work their way back to the inside of the racetrack coming out of that corner because there's a bit of a bump in the middle. Setting themselves back up again here to that right-hander, the right-left complex. And Cameron Shields, the young Aussie, trying to see if he can follow in the footsteps of Will Power. Just got his 9th career pole here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And from the same hometown, Toowoomba, Australia, there was actually, Will went on Instagram last night and had the Instagram story going, and Cameron was on the tugger with him, driving around for the track walk, having a look at the racetrack. So he'll try to see if he can't win another one here. He scored a victory last year on the Oval at Lucas Oil Raceway in the Freedom 75, and Cameron Shields would love to notch a win here. And you know what he wants? He wants just to go green to checker to the end here. Not so much green to checker, but let's say restart to checker. He doesn't want any other yellow flags. He wants to just pull away.
First 4 cars starting to break away just a little bit from Josh Green, who's in the number 2 machine. It looks like Cameron Shields, Kiko Porto, Eduardo Barrichello, and Reese Gold starting to put a little bit of a gap. There's about 0.7 of a second from 4th back to 5th place in this field.
Jack William Miller able to make a move to the inside of Simon Sykes at the end of the straightaway as the drivers come up here again to turn number 4. Working their way through, and you can see how tight that front-running quartet is. And then you put Josh Green and Michael D'Orlando as 3 of the Cape drivers running 4th, 5th, and 6th. Gold, Green, and D'Orlando. And let's not remember the race within the race as well, and that's for second place in the points. Eduardo Barrichello and Reese Gold battling it out as they run on the racetrack, separated by just 1 point. So fast lap of the race is also a 1 bonus point. Cameron Shields is going to try to get the most laps. That's a bonus point as well. He'll take that for himself if he can, but Kiko Porto's put a lot of pressure on him.
You mentioned the big leap that Bejoy Garg made at the start as well, all the way up into 8th place. He's lost, he did lose a spot back to 9th, but this is going to be a real learning experience for that rookie in this series as well, to be thrust forward from the back of the field up with the fast runners. You're going to learn a lot very quickly.
He's run a partial series with the program here in 2020. We hope to see Bejoy in the entire program next year. Cameron Shields laying down fast lap of the race, pulling out to a 0.7 of a second advantage. Interesting battle as well going on for that second spot. Kiko Porto versus Eduardo Barrichello, both from Brazil, and they're best friends. So let's hope we don't have a fight between best friends at the end of this one. And Barrichello may give Kiko just a little more room. You never know. Further back, some really good racing for 5th, 6th, and 7th. It looks like Michael D'Orlando trying to find a way by his teammate Josh Green. Both those drivers out of New York State. A couple of wins this year for Michael D'Orlando, and has had a really good first full season of USF2000 competition. Again, trying to get the budget together. I'm not sure if he wants to come back here to USF next year. I think if he would, he'd be an instant challenger for the championship, finally getting that full year of experience in. Watching the drivers come now through that 11-12 complex. 11, 12, 13, 14. Such a great corner on this racetrack. Flat out coming through here, just flicking the steering wheel a little bit just to get the car to take a set every time you're coming through. Back onto the hard binders of turn 13 and through 14 and back out onto the front straightaway. Cameron Shields, Todd, stretching that lead, resets fast lap of the race. And then Josh Green does the same thing, getting pushed hard by his teammate further back.
That's exactly what Cameron Shields wants to do. Just now that we've settled in, everybody has strung out a little bit single file. Still very close in terms of competition, but now that everyone has strung out single file, he just wants to keep his head focused forward, hit those braking markers, make those smooth corners, and keep extending that lead as much as he can.
And you know what? There's some gaps up here, 1.1, 1.4, but then we see Matt Rangarito's 1.2 seconds back. Then it's 0.7 back to Bejoy Garg. Then it's 3, 4, 2, 5. It's literally, maybe 3, 4, 5/10 of a second for the rest of the field. That's why they're having such great races further back. Drivers working their way through turn 8 and turn number 9. 9 here, the DHL corner. Very important to get that power rolled back on, because that leads onto the long straight all the way down through the kink to turn number 10. You see 10, very tough corner, because you got to get the car rotated, because really the exit point is pointing right at the wall. You got to get the car rotated so you're back on power and not letting that car shuffle out into the wall. That's Jack William Miller there running in the 7th spot, then 8th and 9th, which is Simon Sykes for Legacy Autosport and Matt Rangarito for Pabst Racing.
9 laps already completed here. It remains Cameron Shields out in front. Kiko Porto, the 2 front row starters, had all of the traffic just behind them yet got piled up. They had clear racetrack ahead of them and got away, although we quickly went to the full course caution. Eduardo Barrichello, Reese Gold, and Josh Green rounding out the top 5. Nearly a full second lead now for Cameron Shields on Kiko Porto.
Joining us late here on the Road to Indy TV app or USF2000.com, an opening lap incident when Yuvan Sunar-Murthy, too deep into the braking zone, flew over the back of Christian Brooks' number 44 into the side of Christian Rasmussen's number 6. All 3 of those drivers out of the race, which leaves us 11 drivers on the racetrack. Coming up to the halfway point of what will be a 20-lap event. 45 minutes in total, the time window. Indy Pro 2000 drivers set to go. We had set times for these races, but we had a little bit of a mix-up. There was a lot going on in that IndyCar qualifying session. And most definitely watching guys in and out and in and out. And
there may have been a record for the number of penalties that were given and some rescinded through that qualifying session. However, it was not surprising to see Will Power up front at the end of it.
Well, the fact that he put back-to-back laps that were pole position times, and he actually almost touched the wall in that final lap as well. Will Power is an absolutely amazing driver. I'd love to see what he's able to do here at St. Petersburg. Hey, and we got another Aussie from Toowoomba trying to follow in his footsteps, Cameron Shields, for D-Force Racing, a 1.1 second lead over his teammate Kiko Porto. So D-Force running first and second. Pabst Racing with Barrichello in third. Gold, Green, and D'Orlando, all Cape drivers in the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions. And Cape Motorsports at New Jersey Motorsports Park already clinching the team championship this year for the Cooper Tires USF2000 program. They've done that many times before, but a strong year this year with all 4 of their drivers. Really only one of them with a full season under his belt, and that was Reese Gold.
Some impressive lap times being put up as well by those front runners. Cameron Shields with a 1:12.68 the last time by. That is only slightly off his qualifying lap from yesterday to sit him on the pole for this race. These are fast times that these drivers are putting in.
So let's check off why that's probably happening. Number one, Cooper tires last a long time. You can get good lap times throughout the session, which is great. Number two, all that IndyCar rubber is now down on the track, so we got more grip. Trouble for Cameron Shields. Cameron Shields is slow to the front straightaway. That sounds like an engine problem. Cameron Shields slowing on the front straightaway. Heard the engine bobble. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. For Shields as the leader, D-Force Racing lost one already. This is reminding me of Mid-Ohio when Parker Thompson was leading. The engine blew up, and that gave Manuel Suleiman, his teammate, the lead. This time, Cameron Shields slowing on the front straightaway. His teammate, Kiko Porto, goes by. Still D-Force as the lead, but it looks like Kiko Porto the lead now. We'll see them when they come back around, but you could see something happened on the front straightaway to Cameron Shields.
That was strange, just to see him going down the front straightaway and to surrender the lead so reluctantly. Everyone just went by him.
Yeah, it did not sound good at all for Cameron Shields in that number 10. We'll try to get a reboot when we come back around. But indeed, there's first and second, the two Brazilians. And that will now be Kiko Porto and Eduardo Barrichello, first and second. The two childhood friends from Brazil running 1-2 here in St. Petersburg. Reese Gold by himself now in the third spot. Fourth is going to be Josh Green. Fifth now, Michael D'Orlando. And man, heartbreak for Cameron Shields. I cannot believe it. Let's find out if he's actually falling all the way to the tail. I'm trying to pick him up on the racetrack. No, Cameron Shields coming down pit lane right now. Oh, that is gutting.
This is frustration.
Yeah.
Just to reach the halfway point, to survive the massive crash on the opening lap that happens behind you, and you can hear that engine as he's coming down pit lane. That does not sound like a happy USF2000 car.
He'll come to the stop in front of his D-Force Racing team, and they will, of course, take the rear engine cowl off and have a look inside to see what potentially the issue is. Logan Knapp from Elite Engines there as well. They'll plug it into the electronics and get a really good understanding of what happened to the power plant. But the bottom line is this. He was leading and pulled away to a 1.2-second lead, and Cameron Shields, who's been looking for that big victory, another opportunity to really prove the talent that this young Australian has, going by the wayside. He'll start nearer the front as well tomorrow, so he's going to have a chance to potentially come back. But, man, it's just one of the things you hate to see here when anything like that happens. And, again, literally, if you're the team owners at D-Force Racing, this is like deja vu because it's exactly what happened at Mid-Ohio. Parker Thompson, the Indy Pro 2000, Todd, had this race handled. He had 5 or 6, 7, maybe 8 car lengths on his teammate Manuel Suleiman. It's just, I'm going to cruise to the end. Blows up the motor coming down the one. Suleiman goes around the outside. He ends up getting the victory. But this one, far from over. This is not going to be just Kiko Porto. This is not going to be a walkaway like Suleiman. This is going to be a battle between Kiko Porto and Eduardo Barrichello with 7 to go.
Eduardo Barrichello just 0.3 of a second behind Kiko Porto. Reese Gold third, Josh Green in fourth, and Michael D'Orlando has moved up into the fifth spot now. And there again, close battles as well between fourth and fifth, with Josh Green just 0.4 of a second. I'm interested to see how Eduardo Barrichello stalks his friend in front of him, just to see how aggressive he's going to get.
Well, this is it. 7 laps down, right? We've got time. The whole idea is keep putting the pressure on. See if you can push Kiko into that little mistake. Will he overcook it? Maybe go into the brakes in turn number 15 or 14. Does he go too deep into one? There's lots of places on this racetrack where you just lose your confidence for a second. Another driver coming down pit lane. I think there's damage to that thing's crabbing down the straightaway, so damage to another driver. Left rear damage. That might be the 24 of Michael Myers. And indeed, Michael will bring that car to the attention of his Legacy Autosport crew. As he rolls into the stop here, I want to say it's left rear, but that'll be it for Michael Myers as well. So we're down to 16 drivers, a bit of attrition here in USF 2000, but 6 laps still to go. Indy Pro 2000 drivers are rolling their cars down the back road here in the paddock area, just on the other side of the straightaway. Indy Pro getting ready to go for their main event, the first of 2, a part of the doubleheader weekend for the Road to Indy. They'll be on track again tomorrow morning. USF 2000 on track before the NTT IndyCar Series warm-up session. Then we'll roll out Indy Pro at 11:30 for their second race, and then the Porsche GT Cup drivers will roll out before the NTT IndyCar Series go.
It remains Kiko Porto out front. Front row starter inherits the lead when Cameron Shields has the engine issue. Still along pit road. This team's still having a look. I guess they're trying to determine as best they can where that problem is, how serious that problem is. Already the dissection has started because they'll have to turn around and make repairs because they are out first thing tomorrow morning. They're one of the last cars on track today, and then they're the first race tomorrow morning.
Interesting here, Reese Gold just turned fast lap of the race at 1:12.371. That is 4/10 quicker than Kiko Porto. We're going to have a three-driver battle here, I think, for this race win.
That is quicker than qualifying laps from yesterday. So Reese Gold, who has already signed to move up to the USF or to the Indy Pro Series next season with Juncos Racing, is making a bit of an impression in this race.
I like that car starting to come in here late in the race. 5 laps remaining, and Gold closing up. The key for Gold is to get there to the point when Barrichello decides he's got to make his move. You want to be able to capitalize on anything that may happen, and Kiko Porto trying to hold on to the lead. The Brazilian for D-Force Racing, trying to get that first elusive win, has not yet won. Barrichello's been victorious. Reese Gold has. D'Orlando's already tasted victory. Of course, Christian Rasmussen, so many wins throughout the season as well. Will Kiko Porto be the next driver to stand on top of the podium in USF 2000? Only 2 more races left in the season. This one and 1 more will cap off 2020. Reese Gold got another 2/10, but he's still 1.3 back and time winding out.
And that's going to be the part is that might work against him with only 5 laps to go. Is there going to be enough time to make this a 3-car battle up front? He's got himself a podium position right now. It's how many steps is he going to be able to climb in the remaining laps. So Josh Green 4th, Michael D'Orlando 5th, Jack William Miller in 6th, and Simon Sykes, who you mentioned earlier, had a nice jump up and is currently running 7th right now.
Tremendous run for Simon Sykes in Legacy Autosport in the Metashare machine. Great seeing him run up there in 7th. Actually a winner at the SCCA runoffs, I believe, in the Formula F category. Ran in the Formula Continental class as well. He's also leading the F1600 Championship Series. Will likely bring that championship home. It's been a great season so far for Simon Sykes. We really hope to see him next year full-time here in USF 2000. But again, laps winding down. Gold needs to get close enough because you got to believe that Kiko Porto will at least make that 1 block move down into turn number 1 if Eduardo Barrichello is close enough on the final circuit. If he's not, then he's going to be able to run the open lap. But look at Barrichello. Here's the shot from turn number 1. Barrichello probably 6 car lengths back still as they work their way down here into turn 1. Not close enough to make Porto think about the defense.
No, and Reese Gold is still 9/10 of a second behind Eduardo Barrichello as well. He did cut into that lead just a little bit from 2nd to 3rd place, but again, with 4 laps to go, he may run out of time, although he is quicker.
Matt Roungarito really putting the pressure on Simon Sykes for that 7th position. They're about 5.5 seconds behind the battle with Jack William Miller trying to close up on D'Orlando. But again, nobody behind them. Bajoy Guard quite a ways back. So really it is just a 2-driver battle there for 7th between Sykes and Roungarito. There's that Miller battle with D'Orlando and Green. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th all running together. It's 4th, 5th, 6th coming through the kink. Through turn number 10. There it is there. That's through turn 10. And that right there is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And they're on top of each other. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th, 5th, and 6th all together. Reese Gold definitely closing onto the front straightaway here. They're working through that hairpin. Now Barrichello just not close enough to be able to put the pressure here on Kiko Porto.
No, in fact, that gap has increased just ever so slightly from 1st to 2nd. Eduardo Barrichello now better than a 1/2 second behind. And Reese Gold, though, has closed ever so slightly on Eduardo Barrichello, but not really that much.
I think Reese Gold has the fast lap of the race as well, because as they run on the racetrack, they are tied for points for 2nd. And I'll have to look at the wins. I think they both won 2 races as well. This is going to be unbelievably tight when it comes to the championship. They are running. It's going to be who wins tomorrow, unless, of course, you got that fast lap bonus as well. So it's we'll see how it all plays out. But right now, Barrichello and Gold tied with 317 points. They've got the car of Cameron Shields rolling again. I think wanting to get him back out of the racetrack to make sure everything's going to be good for tomorrow.
Makes sense, and that's why the team was paying such close attention. Make sure, see if they can make whatever the issue is, resolve it. And then if you can get back out, you use the final couple of laps as a bit of a test session, because you won't be back on the track until tomorrow morning, and that will be under race conditions. 3 to go here, and then the USF2000 Series, first on track tomorrow morning. They will take the green flag at 9:30 a.m. for another race.
Leader back across the line again. You'll see them coming down here into turn number 1, and Barrichello always closing near the tail of the field, or tail of the front straightaway. He is just a length back coming through turn number 1 through that 2-3 kink. That right there is 4th, 5th, and 6th. Josh Green, Michael D'Orlando, and Jack William Miller. Leaders locked together. Look at how close Reese Gold has got over the last couple of laps. They'll see the white flag next time by. And Reese Gold thinking about trying to get second in the championship. He's got to get by Barrichello to take a hold of the spot outright. Kiko is counting on that battle behind. He needs Reese to fight with Barrichello, so he's not looking at him. Through turn number 10. All 3 drivers pushed. I think Barrichello the most. He got the closest to the wall coming out of 10. Here comes 4th, 5th, and 6th again. Barrichello's going to have potentially one shot. He's got to get out of here nicely. Get on that throttle. He's not close enough. Kiko Porto has been really good out of the slow stuff to get that power down. You can see how much of a gap he has down the straightaway here. Barrichello not close enough to make a move to the inside, and neither is Reese Gold. White flag flying, last lap here in USF2000, the first of 2 races here this weekend. 9:30 tomorrow morning will cap off the 2020 season. Christian Brooks will start on the pole position to try to make amends for the DNF here in race 1. Porto 1 lap away from grabbing his first victory on the road to Indy, and the second win. Well, the third win it would be for D-Force Racing. 2 wins for Manuel Suleiman in Indy Pro 2000, but this would be D-Force Racing's first USF 2000 victory. Through the kink of turn number 9. They'll work their way up here to turn number 10 right now. Crucial corner, he can't make a mistake, and yeah, nice little gap for Kiko Porto. He was chasing down his teammate, Todd, for the start of this race until an issue happened with the power plant. For Cameron Shields, Kiko Porto inherited the lead, and as he comes out of the final corner here at St. Petersburg, chalk a victory up for the young Brazilian. D-Force Racing with a victory. Kiko Porto wins round 1 here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Eduardo Barrichello second, the Brazilian 1-2. Reese Gold in 3rd. Josh Green 4th. Michael D'Orlando 5th. 6th is Jack William Miller. 7th is going to be Matt Round-Garrido. Simon Sykes ends up in the 8th spot. 9th is Kyle Dupel, so all 4 of the Cape cars finishing in the top 10. And Bajoy Darn coming ahead of his teammate. No, Christian Bogle, pardon me. Bogle able to slip by to get into the top 10. Christian Bogle finishes 10th, Garg 11th. Prescott Campbell in 12th spot. Joe Molina in 13th. Nolan Siegel 14th. Josh Pearson 15th. And Wyatt Prokacek, the last driver on the lead lap after we had the attrition, losing Michael Myers, Cameron Shields, Rasmussen, Brooks, and Sundaramur. The impressive run, though, Todd, for Kiko Porto. A big victory for him, almost a half a second the margin.
Nice win. You could see the enthusiasm as he was fist pumping as he came across the start-finish line and took the checkered flag. Rob Howden thinks he's going to dash down to do the victory podium for the USF2000 Series. He will be there to greet Kiko Porto, Eduardo Barrichello, and Reese Gold, the top 3 finishers on the podium at their podium ceremonies. He'll be back to join me for Indy Pro 2000 racing. That will be our final event here on Saturday as we wrap up our program. Terrific run for Kiko Porto. We had lots of action, a 20-lap race, but there was plenty of action throughout, including the opening lap and into the opening corner as well, with Rasmussen, Brooks, and Sundaramurthy, who all got collected in that one problem. Yuvan Sundaramurthy went too deep into the corner, got launched into the air, contact with the other 2. Cameron Shields, just at about the midway point of this race, seemed to be in control, but then as he came out of corner number 14, headed towards the start-finish line, lost power. He fell back. He did make the stop along pit lane, and his team did give him some attention and send him back out on course. but the damage was done for Cameron Shields. Congratulations to Kiko Porto, Eduardo Barrichello, and Reese Gould. As mentioned, USF2000 will start off our Sunday morning action. 9:30 a.m. is when they will be green for their second and final race of the weekend. That will be immediately before the NTT IndyCar Series morning warm-up tomorrow at 10:40 p.m. Indy Pro 2000 at 11:30 a.m. Porsche GT3 Cup and race number 2 tomorrow, and then tomorrow afternoon, just after 2:30, the NTT IndyCar Series and their 100-lap race. We'll take a quick break. We'll join Rob Howden at the victory podium for USF 2000 in just a moment.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
They will be our final 25-lap race of the day. We'll go down to Rob Howden for Podium Ceremonies. As long as we can, we will squeeze those in as well. Welcome, race fans. 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House would like to welcome you to the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House is open for lunch and dinner daily. 24 ice-cold draft beers on tap. Fresh seafood from our shores to your table. Visit 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House on Beach Drive today. Thank you, race fans. All right, let's go down to Rob Howden at Victory Podium for the USF2000 Series.
Thank you, Todd. Down here at Tatis Victory Lane as we get set to bring a couple of Brazilians and a young American up onto the podium here. We can hear the drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 category rolling out onto the grid. They'll cap off today's action. But let's start with the drivers who were able to work their way to the podium in round number 1 of this doubleheader. Finishing in 3rd spot today for Cape Motorsports, Reese Gould. Nicely done, Reese. Tied in points, I think, right now, unofficially for 2nd place. Driver coming home in 2nd. It's an all-Brazilian 1-2, folks. Coming in 2nd for Pabst Racing, Eduardo Barrichello. And the driver will grab this #1 trophy here, his first win on the road to Indy, folks. So let's give him the round of applause you deserve when you win your first ever race. For D-Force Racing from Brazil, the winner, Kiko Porto. Kiko will jump to the top of the podium. Bragging rights between he and Eduardo, good friends for at least one day. 3 different teams on the podium as well, really showing kind of just the kind of equality that we have in the paddock here on the road to Indy. So many great teams, so many great drivers. Kiko Porto bringing the first USF2000 victory to D-Force Racing. They got a couple Indy Pro wins this year. Eduardo Barrichello for Pabst Racing and Reese Gold for Cape Motorsports. And as we know, the championship battle already locked for Christian Rasmussen. He will go to Indy Pro 2000 next year with a scholarship at second place, still up for grabs between Reese Gold and Eduardo Barrichello. It's all going to come down to the race tomorrow morning, and man, we're looking forward to a great one. This is the very first rung of the road to Indy, ladies and gentlemen. They've worked from here, out of karting, out of Formula Ford Racing, F4 Racing, to get themselves here into the road to Indy, from USF 2000 to Indy Pro to Indy Lights, and they follow in the footsteps of drivers like Spencer Piggott and Oliver Askew, working all the way in to the NTT Indy Car Series. So, folks, that's going to wrap things up here from Victory Lane. Again, congratulations to Kiko Porto for the win. Eduardo Barrichello second. Reese Gold in third. Back up to Todd, because we're going racing here. Indy Pro 2000. We'll give you that grid momentarily.
It won't be long, and we'll get our final race of the day, Indy Pro 2000. 25 laps of racing, as you saw in the USF 2000 series. Plenty of action. We had lots of action during the practice and the qualifying sessions for the Indy Pro 2000 series here, and we will get through the starting lineup momentarily. We'll have the command to fire engines, and then 25 laps of action. Let us say once again, thank you so much to all the fans who have come out to join us today here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Thank you so much for your help, your support, and your cooperation from entry into the grounds and going through the COVID-19 protocols that we have had to deal with. There will, of course, be temperature checks again tomorrow as you re-enter the grounds. Our first on-track action is at 9:30 tomorrow. The gates will open at 9:15. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get in and have those temperature checks done. There is lots of room on the grounds for social distancing. Please keep your assigned seats as you are when you are in the reserved grandstand seats. We appreciate that. Let's go through the starting lineup for the Indy Pro 2000 25-lap race that is just about set to go. Starting on row 1, it is Stingray Robb. The championship winner has already clinched, and he also set a new track record earlier today. Daniel Frost in that number 68 car will start alongside him on the front row. It is the Canadian Parker Thompson in the number 9 on the inside of row number 2, rolling off third. In the number 18, Hunter McElray will flank him to the outside. Row number 3 is Artem Petrov in the 42. Manuel Suleiman will be alongside in the outside of row number 3. Row number 4 makes up Colin Kaminsky and Rasmus Lind. Rasmus Lind has had his challenges through the weekend, having a little bit of contact and missing a little bit of time out on track. He will line up on the outside of row number 4. Row number 5 is the 17 car of Devlin DiFrancesco, and Moises de la Vera in the number 6 car will be in the 10th starting spot. Tristan Charpentier, the youngster, will be on the inside of row number 6 in the number 90 car. He has demonstrated and shown very nicely so far. Charles Finelli in the number 83 will be in the outside of row number 6 in the 12th starting position. And making up row number 7, it is the 69 of Nate Aranda and the number 7 of Corey Enders. As mentioned, it is Stingray Robb who is on the pole for this race. He will be on the pole for the Indy Pro Series, Indy Pro 2000 Series race again tomorrow. Earlier today, we saw track records fall. Plenty of speed, plenty of time on the track by Stingray Robb, and posting a brand new track record a little bit earlier on today. As mentioned, this
Stingray Robb entered New Jersey 49 points on top of the championship fight in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Robb's closest challenger, Devlin DiFrancesco, drew first blood on Saturday. The Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport driver swept the first of 3 races on the weekend when he drove from the pole position to win the 13th round of 2020. And while Robb did what he had to do by finishing as close to DiFrancesco as possible by coming home in second, with D-Force Racing's Manuel Suleiman in third, DiFrancesco's time in the sun would quickly run out. Race 2 of the weekend was run under threatening skies, but the rain stayed away. As the field raced from the green flag into turn 1, DeFrancesco locked up his right front Cooper tire while attempting to make a move to the inside of Yunkos Racing driver Artem Petrov. DeFrancesco made heavy contact with the right rear of Manuel Suleiman, forcing both of those drivers to pit to repair extensive damage. Rob held off the competition to win the 14th round of 2020. Stingray was joined on the podium by D-Force Racing's Parker Thompson and his teammate at Yunkos Racing, Artem Petrov. The weekend ended under dark and wet conditions Sunday afternoon as Manuel Suleiman scored the win in the last race of the weekend, following a mid-race duel at the front with pole sitter from Pabst Racing, Colin Kaminsky, following a full course caution. Kaminsky would enjoy another podium finish in second place after leading the rain-soaked race early on. Stingray Robb completed the podium in third position, which would give the Idaho native enough points to mathematically secure the title in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires, effectively sending him to Indy Lights in 2021. Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
Green, green, green. We're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Karn moving up here at Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Renus VK and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2. Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores the win.
Drivers, start your engines!
That's pretty good.
It was a chorus.
Yeah, they did well. 3 guys together trying to say one thing. Man, to make that happen, that's unbelievable. Nicely done for, again, we got a great group of people here this weekend as part of the Anderson companies. A lot of different team sponsors all here. The beauty of getting back to what we normally do, right? There's so many people that want to be involved in the Road to Indy, same as they want to be involved in the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. The people that are around here, just I've had to dodge and weave people running back and forth from places, and that makes me happy.
It's a nice problem to have,
is.
that we've been able to have so many people here in the grandstands.
Yeah.
It has worked out beautifully. We're thrilled to be back, and we thank the folks at St. Petersburg. We thank all the volunteers, all the workers who have done so much to prepare for this weekend. This track takes an awful lot of time to set up. They had to squash that timeline down to be ready and be prepared in time, and it's all come together, and everyone has done such a great job. It's of course, we got backed up a little bit because the IndyCar qualifying went a little bit long. It was a bit of a scramble, but everyone has just done such a sensational job today.
It's 5:40 here local time. I don't think anybody's going to complain about watching some race cars go out, battle it out for 25 laps. It's cooling down right now. The sun's still out. It's just a gorgeous afternoon in St. Pete. Stingray Robb booked to the start from the pole position in that number 2. And again, that's a name you want to know. He's already locked and loaded the championship. Did that a couple of weeks ago at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Set the track record earlier today in qualifying for race number 2, and he is about prepped and ready to go here for the opening round of this doubleheader. And he'll start in the pole position alongside Daniel Frost. Frost will be running next year in Indy Lights as well in that number 68 machine. Parker Thompson alongside Hunter McElroy on row number 2. The 2 drivers that I'm waiting to break through to get that first victory here. We've had 7 different winners on the season. Thompson and McElroy are the 2 that I expect to finally be able to get a win. Artem Petrov and Manuel Suleiman on row number 3.
That's an awful lot of good things to say about the competition when you've had 7 different winners and you're down to the final 2 events of the season, and 2 of your top runners still haven't had a victory. Maybe you can even bump that number up a little further.
That's exactly right. Drivers working their way out onto the straightaway at turn number 14. We're going racing here at St. Petersburg with the drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Capping off the day, Stingray Robb on the inside from America. Daniel Frost, the Singapore driver, on the outside. Canada and Australia on row 2. Russia and Mexico row 3. Green, 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 and a great start for Stingray Robb. Parker Thompson going to dive to the inside as well. He'll get that run on Daniel Frost. He'll try to push wide. Couple drivers 2, 3 wide coming through the corner. They were 3 wide out of turn number 1, over to turn number 2, clean through 1. Through turn number 2, under the bridge here now as you see them work their way through. clean start and a good one for Parker Thompson. Stingray Rob getting a really nice jump on the green. Caught Daniel Frost napping a little bit. That allowed Parker Thompson, Todd, to get to the inside of Daniel coming through turn number 2. He takes that spot, move Parker Thompson to P2.
And that's the opportunity that presents itself on the start and on restarts if we'll have them as well. If you time that green flag just right, Stingray Rob launched away and Parker Thompson was right in his wake, able to take advantage and gain a position.
We'll give you a full field rundown when they come back around, but you can see how the light's starting to get down a little bit here, a little softer in the evening in St. Petersburg. We're back at it bright and early at 9:30 tomorrow morning. The Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires with the second end of the doubleheader for Cooper Tires USF2000. But Stingray Rob tried to put that exclamation point I keep talking about onto his season here. Track record for race 2, and he has already pulled away from Parker Thompson out front. It's a 1.2 second advantage on the opening lap.
Lap 1, what a job by Stingray Rob, a 1.2 second advantage. That is someone who is on it right away, and I'm interested to see if he'll get the word to say, hey, look, there's no need to try to go and do qualifying lap pace on every lap of the 25-lap race, and maybe he'll start to manage that pace just a little bit.
I think every driver will tell you if the car is good and if they feel good, you're able to get out front early. You know, that's cold tire laps. You haven't built a lot of heat into the Coopers yet. You're trusting on the grip. You're trusting on the car. You build that 3-4 second gap, then you kind of relax a little bit. You'll maintain that. 3 to 4 seconds is what you want. You never know when you have a minor mistake. They'll all want to get out and kind of chill out at that point. This is a big gap already. You can see it all the way back to Parker Thompson and Daniel Frost. Artem Petrov up into the 4th position. Hunter McElroy goes to P5. Manuel Suleiman in 6th, Moises De Oliveira in 7th, Colin Kaminsky 8th, Rasmus Lind 9th, and Devlin DiFrancesco in 10th. DiFrancesco, the driver in a championship battle with Artem Petrov. Petrov closing up a little bit here. Nate Aranda runs in 11th. Corey Enders in 12th, Tristan Charpentier in 13th, and Charles Finelli in 14th.
It is already a 2-second gap after 2 laps back to Parker Thompson from Stingray Rob. We talked about confidence. We've talked about momentum through the weekend so far. He's got a championship. He's won races. He's had a good run, especially into this last half of this season. This is the momentum, it seems like, that it's carrying through. And it's just, I'm gonna get that exclamation point that you talked about, and wants to finish saying that I didn't just win a championship, I dominated in a championship.
You know, I think with a car of this horsepower, the way you have to kind of throw it around, it's nimble, right? There's a lot of torque, and there's a lot of downforce. So you have to trust in the car, especially at a track like this at St. Petersburg. One little mistake, you find yourself off the track over here, off the track over there, whatever it may be. If you have confidence in that package and in your team, that's what you're able to do what Stingray Rob's doing right now. Everything has gone his way from Indianapolis on after that first victory at Mid-Ohio, and man, this kid really starting to put a show on here in front of the right people, right? We're talking about, he's only 2 steps away from IndyCar, to be honest. He's going Indy Lights Racing next year. If he has a dream season, he's on the IndyCar grid in 2022, and that's real. That's the reality here. If you can get the job done, someone from Indy Lights next year is going to be on the 2022 IndyCar grid.
The gap is now 2.25 seconds to Parker Thompson. Stingray Rob out in front. His last lap by a 109 flat, a 109.09. His qualifying speed yesterday, a 108.1. Now, these drivers, and especially Stingray Rob, went even better than that this morning with a 107.6 to set a new track record. So I would expect we'll see these times perhaps come down even just a little bit further.
I was going to say, if you have I don't have the lineup sheet with me right now. We may need to find out whether or not he's going to try to battle for his own personal race lap record. We'll have a look at that in a couple of seconds. It's a 2.2 second lead right now. Stingray's backed it down to about a 109.0, so he really is only about 0.3 quicker now per lap, but nonetheless, an unbelievably impressive run for Stingray Rob. There's another 109.027. I bet you he's getting close. There's Manuel Suleiman now does a 108.
Number of drivers now also into the 109s. The top 5 are into the 109s. Parker Thompson, Daniel Frost, Artem Petrov, and Hunter McElroy all into the 109s now. And as you mentioned, Manuel Suleiman, a 108.9 and a 109.6 for Rasmus Lind as well. So 6 of the top 7. In fact, all 7 are into the 109s, and Suleiman is into the 108s.
You know, one of the best races right now, a little bit further back, you can see Colin Kaminsky with Devlin DiFrancesco, Moises de Oliveira, Nate Aranda, and Corey Enders. They're all battling it out like crazy. We've been watching them a bit on the screen. We'll see if we pick them up again. 5 laps down to what will be a 25-lapper, and we have a driver off the racetrack. That's on the exit of turn 1. One of the D-Force cars has gone off track, a spin, I believe, coming out of turn number 1. Pick up which driver that is right now. We'll see them falling down the order, of course. He's going to get rolling again. I think that might have been Corey Enders. Yeah, that might have been Enders. We'll watch to see if he falls down the order. Just in front of the leaders, significantly in front of the leaders, a full straightaway there. You can just see them coming back into play. Indeed, Corey Enders going around in turn number 1. Got the car refired and got back onto the racetrack, and a pretty solid advantage still over top, so he's not going to play a factor yet in this run for Stingray Robb up front. There's Enders coming out of turn number 9. So let's have a look at the replay here of the spin for Corey Enders as he's, I think probably just trying to carry a ton of speed into that corner and just got the wheel into it. And it wasn't even a throttle on, I think it was more just trying to get the car to rotate after it rolled off the brakes, and rear end broke loose on him. Did that 360 and parked it to the inside. Driver behind him, evasive maneuvers for sure.
And that's another trouble spot for Corey Enders this weekend. Wasn't able to post a time in yesterday's qualifying for race number 1. Had to start at the back of the field. Did jump up a couple of spots, but that may also be a bit of a case of a driver who's trying to make the most of a very bad starting spot to improve his position as the race moves on.
Steve Whittick from TSOladder.com, my texting stat man. He's always there for me every time I need him. Of course, Steve writing up the story here. A 108.514. That is the track record, race record. And Colin Kaminsky just laid down a pretty solid lap time there of a 108.569. So he's close. It's a 108.5144. That is the race record set last year, I believe, by Stingray Robb.
Now, I'm no good at math, but that would seem to be 5/100ths of a second off the race record.
Wasn't he just a couple of thousandths off before Stingray Robb destroyed it in qualifying? It's been a good run for Colin Kaminsky, showing good pace here. And again, he's the fastest driver on the racetrack right now, trying to reel in Rasmus Lind. Again, final race of the season. We still call these guys rookies because it's the first year in the series, but they've run almost a full season minus 1 race. So they're essentially veteran drivers at this point here, but Colin Kaminsky's had a strong rookie season. Pabst Racing, their first year in the program in Indy Pro 2000. They're a powerhouse, of course, in USF. We'll see if Colin Kaminsky can reel in Rasmus Lind in the Turn 3 Motorsports number 3 machine. Otherwise, 7 laps down. Still a long way to go in this one here. A 25-lapper to cap off the day's action here from St. Petersburg. And a driver into pit lane, indeed, the 7 of Corey Enders has rolled that car down pit lane. Out of turn number 8 and 9. There's the battle there between Rasmus Lind and Colin Kaminsky. Devlin DiFrancesco not that far back either. And again, watching this battle for second place in the championship. Juncos Racing actually trying to go for first and second. Artem Petrov running in the 4th spot, the driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. Ran a partial season last year with RP Motorsport USA. Moved over to Juncos Racing this year, the 42. 311 points as he runs on track. Devlin DiFrancesco, 324 points. So it'll be a 13-point advantage for DiFrancesco in second.
Working lap 9, Stingray Robb out in front of the field. He started on the pole position and has stayed out front. The lead is 2.8 seconds over Parker Thompson, who runs second, Danielle Frost third, Artem Petrov fourth, and Hunter McElroy in the top 5.
Here's turn 4 and 5. We can see in this battle really start to develop between Artem Petrov, Hunter McElroy, and Manuel Suleiman as well. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And they are dicing it out big time. McElroy ran the inside line last time down into turn 1. Here's the lead for Rob, though. Man, this kid is on a roll right now. Coming off a victory in the back end as well of the race at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Actually, no, he got one win in New Jersey with Manuel Suleiman that won the third race in the rain, but he was able to get a victory. I feel like a first, a second, and a third for Stingray in New Jersey to lock the championship down. Just trying to lock another win as well. Manuel Suleiman in that fight, as we said, trying to reel in McElray, but don't even count out Lind and Kaminsky either. It's starting to tighten up a bit here.
It has in that middle portion. The first couple of cars have got a little bit of distance between them, but then that 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th are really tight together as we are working lap number 10.
Again, Stingray Robb setting that fastest race lap record last year of a 108.5144. Haven't had anybody break that record yet. .8 seconds, the lead for Stingray. Watching this fight coming through here. A little further back in the pack, Nate Aranda and Tristan Charpentier. Charpentier making his first start here in the Indy Pro 2000 category.
All of these battles seem to have spread out just a little bit in the last couple of laps as you get to almost the halfway portion of this race. This may be drivers saying, all right, I need to sort of step back, not essentially slowing down, but just sort of mentally trying to refocus their attention on where they might be able to find that advantage, to also not wanting to use up their car and have a little bit left for the end. But it's a time where you'll start to evaluate, all right, I'm better in this corner, and I have to be closer to my opponent to try to have an advantage and get around them.
And I think we want to remember as well that we talked about it during qualifying, all the teams going through their sticker tires. So all of these tires got used significantly during the qualifying runs as well. So nobody out here on fresh tires, everybody on rubber that's a little bit used up and it's going to keep kind of falling away, degrading a little bit near the end of the race. As I said, though, the Coopers do stay very consistent. And it's interesting, we talked about the lap times that Stingray Robb was able to blister out there. Well, now a 108.7, pretty much the same lap time as Parker Thompson. Got himself a 2.8 second lead. Now we pedal it, throttle it back a little bit. Let's see what we can do to keep this lead and try to get another race win.
This is also one of the skills that the drivers learn on the road to Indy, is how to manage your car, how to manage a race as well. If you have a lead, if having a 3-second lead is excellent, but it doesn't mean you have to try to stretch it out every single time. But now we've got a problem with Parker Thompson, who's falling down the field.
Parker Thompson falling to the tail of the field here in the number 9 machine. Wow, it's been a rough day for D-Force Racing. Yeah, they won with Kiko Porto in USF2000, but they watched Cameron Shields have an issue. And now it's Parker Thompson who has fallen to the tail of the field again. The luck is just not on the side of Parker Thompson in the number 9 D-Force Racing machine as he has fallen all the way to the tail of the field. Watching the work, Artem Petrov here work his way through. Petrov with Hunter McElray right behind him. That's going to move Petrov onto the podium in 3rd. Parker Thompson just rolling off the racetrack now to come into pit lane. Some kind of a mechanical for Parker. Man, he's just had good speed and bad luck all year long.
And you said, and it's funny how there are some years that are like that. You mentioned a race earlier, I think it was Mid-Ohio, where he seemed to have everything under control, and it all went away just so quickly.
Indeed. Very similar to what we saw with Cameron Shields. Parker will bring that number 9 machine into pit lane. Not sure what's wrong with it, but he is done, and they have parked it. Manuel Suleiman just set fast lap of the race. Still not quite enough to take over that fast race lap. That is, I believe, Fat Boy Racing's Charles Finelli doing a drive-through. Look at this. The thing is, there's a number of drivers that are close enough to potentially battle. That's the fight right there between Rasmuth Lint and Colin Kaminsky as they roll through. That there is Moises de Oliveira. But I'm telling you, Colin Kaminsky is relentless here on the pressure he's putting on Rasmuth Lint. But, of course, Rasmuth, multi-time winner last year here in Indy Pro 2000, was scheduled to go with Belardi Auto Racing into Indy Lights this year. Number of starts in the LMP3 category in IMSA with Performance Tech Motorsports. And for Rasmuth coming back here to get some seat time to cap off the season before he goes back into Indy Lights testing, he's been challenged in a big way here by Colin Kaminsky.
Working lap 13, just about the midpoint of this 25-lap race. It is Stingray Robb that is well in control now. After the problems with Parker Thompson has fallen out of second, it is Daniel Frost that has moved up to second spot. Artem Petrov, Hunter McElroy, and Manuel Suleiman in the top 5.
And that is a new race lap record for Daniel Frost, a 108.383, the track record for the fastest lap in a race in Indy Pro 2000. 108.383, 0.2 quicker than Stingray Robb. You got to think too little, too late. Still 12 laps to go, but he's 3.7 seconds back, and I don't think we've seen Stingray drop the hammer as of yet.
And even with that 108.3, it's still 0.2 of a second, only 0.2 of a second quicker than Stingray Robb.
This particular camera shot's maybe my favorite on the racetrack because you can see it. People don't think about this. These are city streets on a daily basis, right? How many days out of the year? Let's take 15 days out, so call it 350 plus days a year. It's the city street. It's covered in the oil, the tires, but it's got the crown in the road. That's what I love about that shot coming out of turn number 9. You can see the drivers come out, and the car goes over top of the crown, and it just obviously wants to rotate. It wants to have that rear end come back around. And those drivers have to handle that. And that's what I think is so impressive here.
And you're right. It's just understanding not exactly what the handling of the car could do, but what the handling of the car will do based on the shape of the road.
Exactly.
And the city streets, they are crowned so that rain and water runs off them. If you're trying to make a right-hand turn, but with the crown in the road, it wants to send you to the left, that's when you have to know when to put enough wheel into the car to make sure that you can complete that corner and keep those tires off the wall.
I love that shot.
Yeah.
Every time you see that shot, it's a little bit of exit oversteer. You see the car get loose. Every time throttle, because you got to get on the throttle early coming out of turn 9 to get all the way down into turn number 10, right? And the thing just keeps wanting to step out. You see those drivers correcting, getting more wheel into it. This is what separates, I think, you and I or anybody else that can potentially drive a race car pretty quickly around a track. It's having those lightning fast reflexes to do it within a track that's 30 feet wide. Maybe it looks when you get out there, it is so much more narrow than it actually looks when you're actually going through the corner. It's amazing.
Especially when you're seated in one of these cars that has you barely a couple of inches off the ground. Those concrete walls are at eye level,
yeah.
and it is you're right, it is the reflexes and the reaction time with those drivers, those lightning quick hands, the eye and the information transfer through the brain to the hands, and to be able to react that quickly and not overreact as well, because if you do that, you're likely to put the back end of the car into the wall.
That's it. I'll tell you, a guy on the move right now is Hunter McElroy in that number 18 Pabst Racing Machine. Look at him. He's coming out at turn number 10. They're really working it. Same goes for Rasmus Lint and Colin Kaminsky. They are closing up on Manuel Suleiman. That's for P5. But McElroy last time by was 0.4 quicker than Artem Petrov. We may see a battle here for the final step on the podium. There's your leader, Stingray Robb, out of turn number 14. P2, Daniel Frost, the Singapore driver for turn 3 Motorsports. And then it's Artem Petrov, Hunter McElroy, Manuel Suleiman, Rasmus Lint, and Colin Kaminsky. Almost nose to tail. Ends up being 4 lengths as they come by, 4 or 5 car lengths as they come by start finish. But the accordion back down when they get on the brakes into turn number 1. And here they are at the exit of 1. You can see how close Manuel Suleiman is now. Manuel trying to work his way up into the points as well. Currently, I think Manuel, I want to say where we go here, I think he'd be 4th place in points. No, I'll make that 5th. Stingray Robb with 417 points. Devlin DiFrancesco still running 2nd with 325. Artem Petrov just 11 back with 314. Daniel Frost back by just 6 points from Petrov as well. And then the high driver in the 200s, and that would be the 289 of Hunter McElroy. He would be P5 right now. So everybody tightening things up.
Stingray Robb clinched the championship, but still an awful lot to be decided in the 2nd, 3rd, and perhaps even 4th in this Indy Pro 2000 Championship.
Indeed.
This is race number 1 of the weekend. They'll be back on track again tomorrow for their 2nd and final event. They will be on track tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. So again, not a lot of time between the conclusion of this race and the start of the next one. And we've had 2 retirements because of mechanical issues, Parker Thompson and Corey Enders. Those teams will be busy tonight getting ready for tomorrow.
I will tell you this. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. We have, 7 laps to go. None of these teams in Indy Pro 2000 are going out for dinner tonight. They're all bringing food in, and these guys will be working on these cars probably till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tonight, making sure that they are absolutely perfect. They'll nut and bolt everything. They'll go through it. They'll make the changes they want after the debriefs they've been in. These guys will be here late this evening, making sure these cars are ready for the final race of the 2020 season. Oh, look at that.
I know, just going to say, watching through that shot again, just seeing the back end of the car, it starts to step out, then the correction. And the drivers, every lap, it's just that same quick reaction time that's necessary to maximize the performance through that right-hander.
That's exactly it. 17 laps in the books, 8 laps to go here. Stingray Rob leading by 3.4 seconds. So here's your rundown as we're coming to the end of this one. Stingray Rob with the lead. Daniel Frost runs second, Artem Petrov in third, Hunter McElroy fourth, Manuel Suleiman fifth. Sixth is Erasmus Lind, seventh Colin Kaminsky, eighth Devlin DeFrancesco, ninth is Moises de la Vera, 10th Nate Aranda, 11th Tristan Charpentier, 12th Charles Finelli, and the drivers out of the race already, Parker Thompson, and I believe Corey Enders. Corey may have come back onto the racetrack, or he may be done. 7 laps in the books here for Corey, but nonetheless, 12 drivers still essentially 8, actually only 11 on the lead lap.
Still a pretty good fight going on in those 4th, 5th, and 6th positions with Hunter McElroy, Manuel Suleiman, Rasmus Lind, even Colin Kaminsky as well, all still trying to shuffle for position. 3 or 4 tenths the gap between most of those drivers.
Again, the fast lap, we've seen a new track record in the 108.3s for Daniel Frost, resets our fast race lap record. Stingray Rob's not really worried about this record, I think. He'd be more than happy to get another victory. 2 pole positions, $1,500 prize for both of those, so $3,000 already on the docket for the weekend for Stingray Rob. He's more concerned about the almost $625,000 championship prize he's going to get to go Indy Lights racing next year. So that's a big haul for the driver from Payette, Idaho.
That's already wrapped up. He has clinched the championship. He has got pole position for both races. Now it's about getting victories and ending the season with that momentum that we talked about. Having that confidence, having that momentum heading into the offseason. It makes the offseason training work go a little bit smoother as well. All that extra time that you're going to have to put into the gym to prepare for the next step up. The next step up on those Indy Lights cars, they are more challenging. They are more difficult to handle. They are more sophisticated. That requires more from the driver.
I'll tell you, a good little battle here further back is Tristan Charpentier able to go up into the top 10 now. But that fight we're watching with Rasmus Lind, Manuel Suleiman, and Colin Kaminsky, I'll tell you, Rasmus, he's showing his ability to drive this car around because he is drifting it out of turn number 9, flat wheeling it, and Kaminsky putting so much pressure on him here as well. Colin just trying to get a better run out of 14 to see if he can't run him down. Back to turn 1, there's Frost. That is 3rd and 4th, Petrov and McElroy, then 5th, 6th, and 7th, Suleiman, Lind, and Kaminsky.
Something that we haven't talked about much this weekend. We talked about the crown in the road and the difference in the surfaces from parking lot and to city streets and to the airport runway, but there are different surfaces as well. There's asphalt, there's concrete, and those curbs as well, also of a different compound. That's something else that these drivers have to deal with as they make their way around this 1.8-mile circuit.
Yeah, I'm more worried about that concrete all the way around the outside of the walls. But yes, you're right. There are concrete patches.
There is plenty of that.
Yeah, which are much different to handle when the drivers are coming through. The car's going to you get on the concrete, it's going to push a little bit more. It doesn't have the same grip on the front of the car. And the drivers will get used to that, but it's never settling. It's never comfortable.
No, and it's the transition at times around the track. You'll be on asphalt, then concrete, back on asphalt, and sometimes in very short sequence. And if you have different tires on different surfaces, that becomes a challenge as well.
A really good run out of this corner here for Rasmus Lind as he's going to potentially try to make a move. Just can't quite get it. And one of the issues the drivers will talk about, that's Finelli coming back into pit lane. In that hairpin where you're trying to get really deep into the hairpin to roll back on the throttle, that's when you're up behind a driver and you start to lose a little bit of that air off the front wing. And you've got the wheel into it, and once you've lost the downforce where that clean air is not flowing over top of the front wing as the driver's gone off, that's Kaminsky. Kaminsky has overshot turn number 5 or turn 4. So that is going to allow DiFrancesco to roll through. There's Kaminsky coming back. DiFrancesco through, Moises de Oliveira through. That's going to be big in the championship to get second for DiFrancesco. That's going to give him a couple more points. So Kaminsky pushing hard, driving into turn number 4, overcooks it, off into the escape route.
Just we talked about late in the race, understanding there's only 3 or 4 laps remaining, trying to push a little bit harder, try to pick up that one extra position, drive a little deeper into the corner. The braking is not there, and look at Stingray Robb has just posted a new fast lap, a 1:08.361, 1:08.362 seconds.
Exclamation point. New track record for the race. Now he has the outright qualifying record and retakes the race lap record that he had lost for a moment there for a number of laps from Daniel Frost. It's not over yet, of course, but Stingray Robb, it got down to 2.1 seconds. He went, nah, too close for comfort. I'm going to grab another gear and stretch this out a little bit.
I wonder if he's at the point where it's like, okay, I'm in front and I'm comfortably in front. Do you almost let the tires cool ever so slightly, and then it's like, all right, let's really try and put one in to get that lap?
I don't know.
Does it get to the point that it's like, you know what, we're just having fun out here. There's a confidence in the team, there's a confidence in the car and the performance you're going to get. Let's go let one rip.
With the championship already locked and loaded, maybe they give him the green light to drop it down. Just cool those tires off for a couple laps. I'll have to ask that question later on. Otherwise, just maybe stretching that gap a little bit. It's down to 1.8 seconds right now. Daniel Frost is closing over the last couple of laps here. Stingray actually backed it off about a half a second. There's 2 laps remaining for Stingray. You don't want to slow down too much, because when you get out of the rhythm, it's when you make a mistake. These cars like to be driven fast. If you and I went out there and drove it at half speed, it would be the steering would be super, super heavy. You got to go fast enough to get that car to rotate to allow those wings to do the work. Daniel Frost definitely closing up here a little bit on the final couple laps, trying to make it interesting. Stingray laid down that 1:08.3, backed it up with a 1:08.8, a half a second slower. I don't know if there's potentially an issue. Did he tap the wall somewhere? I don't know. Daniel Frost closing up. But Stingray is going to see the white flag, I believe, when he comes out onto the front straightaway. Tom Hansing, I believe. No, that's Aaron Likens still up on the tower to give the white flag to Stingray Robb. Trying to go for another race win. Got those track records back to where he wanted them. Both saying Stingray. Artem Petrov still running P3 as he's in that battle with Devlin DiFrancesco. DiFrancesco going to get another point there, so it's a 12-point advantage for DiFrancesco. Stingray Robb, final lap on this racetrack, just going to cruise it around here. It was about a 10th slower than Daniel Frost lap time. Daniel actually pushing it hard here on the final lap. I don't know if Stingray is going to make a mistake here. Last lap, coming through turn number 10. Gives himself lots of room on the exit. Just the 11, 12, 13, 14 combination to lead back onto the straightaway here. What a weekend it's been so far. A couple of track records for Stingray Robb, and he'll come out of the final corner here at St. Petersburg, starting off the season finale with a win. Stingray Robb, the young American, victorious for Juncos Racing in race number 1 of Indy Pro 2000, setting a new fast lap again, a 1:08.279. That's the way to do it. Reset the race lap record on the final circuit. Stingray Robb with the win. Daniel Frost second. 2 drivers in Juncos Racing in the top 3. Artem Petrov onto the podium. Hunter McElroy ends up finishing in that 4th position. Manuel Suleiman in 5th. Rasmus Lint in 6th. Devlin DiFrancesco 7th. Colin Kaminsky trying to close back up to Moises de Oliveira on the final lap. Comes up just short. De Oliveira 8th. Kaminsky 9th. Charpentier rounding out the top 10. But it's another Stingray Robb win, Todd. Very impressive run for him. Daniel Frost, Artem Petrov on the podium. I'll head down there now and we'll pass out some hardware and cap off the day.
Well, I was always under the impression that it was one exclamation part mark maximum when you were writing in English, but Stingray Rob has used several of them this
That's
weekend.
that's more of a social media exclamation
Yeah, okay,
point,
fair enough,
right?
fair enough.
As many as you want.
Rob Howden is headed down to Victory Podium to award the hardware to Stingray Rob, Daniel Frost, and Artem Petrov, the top 3 finishers. Here in our final race of the day, what an event for the Indy Pro 2000 series. Stingray Rob has already clinched the championship coming into this event. Set a new track record in qualifying a little bit earlier today. He will start on the pole for tomorrow's race number 2, and he sets a new race lap record on the final lap of this 25-lapper here to round out our Saturday action, a 1:08.279. Rob Howden, as mentioned, will be headed down to Victory Podium momentarily. The Indy Pro 2000 cars making their way back along pit road. They will be back on track tomorrow. Our full action begins tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. USF2000 cars will hit the track for race number 2, their second half of their doubleheader, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. And at 10:40, it's the NTT IndyCar Series morning warm-up. 30 minutes of action with the NTT IndyCar Series. That's when pit stop practice will take place. The Indy Pro 2000 second half of their doubleheader goes green at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Porsche GT Cup sports car racing takes place at 12:40, and then the 100 laps of the NTT IndyCar Series race to conclude the 2020 season goes green shortly after 3 tomorrow afternoon. Will Power will start on the pole. Scott Dixon, the leader in the championship, by 32 points over Joseph Newgarden. It is not clinched yet, but Scott Dixon certainly in a good position, but Scott Dixon is going to start well back in that field in 12th. Tomorrow, Joseph Newgarden also, I believe, starts 10th tomorrow in that field. When your car needs a pit stop, turn to Tires Plus where you're in the driver's seat. From tires to service, Tires Plus recommends the best options for your vehicle so you can choose what's best for you. All with safer surface options for your safety and your convenience. The Honda Accord with a turbocharged engine and fastback design, the Accord sets the standards for sedans everywhere. The Accord, engineered by Honda, a proud sponsor of the NTT IndyCar Series. Download the IndyCar app powered by NTT Data to get the inside track on your favorite drivers, teams, and races. NTT is proud to be the title sponsor of the NTT IndyCar Series and technology partner to IndyCar and the IndyCar Series. Speedway is proud to be part of the communities it serves and proud to be the official fuel and convenience store of the NTT IndyCar Series. At Speedway, you'll find everything you need for life on the go. Great food and beverage choices, and only Speedway has the free Speedy Rewards card where you earn points for free food, merchandise, and more. IndyCar would like to thank the following sponsors for their support: Jostens, the official championship ring and trophy supplier; Larson's promotional partner; Lincoln Welders, the official welder; NTT, official technology partner and series title; Pennzoil, official partner of the radio network; Performance Friction Corporation, exclusive supplier of braking systems; Perkin-Elmer, official instrument supplier and fuel certification; PPG, official aeroscreen and racing electronics, the official racing radio communication. Thank you so much to all who have joined us so far this weekend. Our Saturday is just about at a conclusion. We'll join Rob Howden momentarily for Podium Ceremonies for the Indy Pro 2000 series. We remind you again that gates will open at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. On-track action begins at 9:30. Thank you so much for your help and your cooperation in following the COVID-19 protocols. Again, there will be temperature checks and the same procedures will be in place tomorrow as you re-enter the grandstands. Give yourself plenty of time to get here in time to see the action beginning at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. The NTT IndyCar Series hits the track at 10:40 a.m. in the morning. There are assigned seats in the grandstands. We ask that you please keep them when you are in the grandstands, as well as those face masks and face coverings on. Take advantage and use the hand sanitizing stations that are stationed throughout the grounds. Lots of hand washing stations as well. You're seeing the Sunday event schedule coming up on the big screens right now. The NTT IndyCar Series season finale goes green at just after 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. Indy Pro 2000 drivers and teams just making their way back to the paddock area. Rob Howden is making his way down to the podium. We'll have the award ceremonies to wrap things up here for our Saturday before we get going. Stingray Rob putting several exclamation points on his championship in the Indy Pro 2000 series. posted the fastest lap in both qualifying sessions and set a new track qualifying record a little bit earlier today and sets a new fast race lap and leading from wire to wire in today's 25-lap race. He'll attempt to make it the weekend sweep tomorrow. Let's go down to Rob Howden for the awards presentations.
Todd, thank you so much. We'll get things going here from Tatis Victory Lane. 3 drivers, of course, getting to the end here nicely in our Indy Pro 2000 race. As you said, the first end of the doubleheader. Let's start with the driver coming home in 3rd spot today. A great run for the Juncos Racing competitor, Artem Petrov. Artem in a battle for 2nd place in the points overall, and a great run for Artem to P3. Finishing in 2nd position for Motorsports, a great run for Daniel Frost. P2 for Daniel, pushed hard at the end there, closed it down to about 1.5 seconds. Daniel will be fighting to get back at it again in round number 2 of the weekend here tomorrow. But the driver getting the job done here today. Again, he set the fast lap record earlier today in qualifying. He then reset his own race lap record as well. He's already crowned the champion, and he gets a victory to start things off, folks. A tremendous run for the young American from Juncos Racing, the winner, Stingray Rob. Stingray will hop on top of the podium, grab that trophy, raise it high. A tremendous drive, a flawless performance from start to finish, able to jet out to about a 2.3-second lead early. And once he got that there, able to back it down a little bit. Of course, Daniel Frost chased him at the very end, but through the middle of that race, it was just a smooth sail on what is a very difficult racetrack here at St. Petersburg. Todd and I talked about the challenges of the crown and the road, all the different surfaces. And folks, this here is the future of the NTT IndyCar Series for you. Again, Stingray Rob, Daniel Frost, and Artem Petrov on the 2nd rung of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Next step for them, that move to Indy Lights. We know that Stingray Rob's already going there next year with a scholarship from winning here in Indy Pro. Daniel Frost was scheduled to go to Indy Lights this year, already a multi-time winner in the Indy Pro 2000 category last year, and of course, started the season with a win at Road America as well. So at least the 2 of those coming. Artem Petrov, he's going to make that move to Indy Lights sooner or later as well. A very talented driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. But this is what we got. And this is the international flavor of this program as well, folks. America, of course, United States for Stingray Rob, Singapore for Daniel Frost, and Russia for Artem Petrov. This is what we have in this particular program, and it is an absolute treat to be able to bring it to you on these weekends. We look forward to the return of Indy Lights in 2021 and seeing these drivers work their way up 1 step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. That's going to cap things off here from Tatis Victory Lane. Back to Todd Lewis.
Thank you, Rob.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.